Okay, so we're training Elaine on how to go ahead and use the group buckets, the My Buckets area. This is absolutely critical for a business owner, for a salesperson, in how to do. Elaine has some basic understanding of MCAT. So, you know, you want to get that basic understanding. There's online recorded sessions, go through that, practice it. Don't learn MCAT. Don't learn MCAT and then practice it 2 or 3 days later. You go through a video, or hopefully not, but if somebody trains you, then you want to apply what's trained immediately. If you don't go ahead and immediately try what's being trained, it's like teaching somebody to use a nail gun. They need to be trained and then use it immediately. If you wait a day or 2 days, you lose it. And so you've got to do enough of the exercise to do the what's called muscle memory, where you just know how to do it. So Elaine has a list of phone calling plan. And so these are the top people that she's going to be pursuing. This is the first group of people. These are the people that are going to be servicing clients. And then it's going to be people who make money. So that's going to be the Action Vision or the X-rays. And then here's Coffee Connection. So you could go in here, Elaine, and you could go ahead and, find, these are people that have done business X-rays. These are people that have done business X-rays that have, anybody who's done a business X-ray should be put in here. So these are all the people that we've, sold on an X-ray, or sold on an X-ray, and they've gone into Action Vision. Now, these are two that we don't have, URLs. Anybody that's looking at this should, and we don't have dates. So if there's a blank line, there's a blank cell, anybody can look at this and say, duh, there's a blank cell, something's wrong. I shouldn't have to be the one to do that. And then here you have a bunch of blank cells too. So what happens here is, Elaine, is I go ahead and I, build a system, and then I use the system. And you can see when Mark's, building the system and using the system, it's actually used. And then you can see when all of a sudden somebody else comes in and they start using the system. Well, they start not using the system. And so now, so all of a sudden people just stop using the system. And before you know it, it becomes common and standard. Nobody's using the system. Now, I don't understand this, but I do, because people didn't invest all the time and money into building these systems. So they just go about their work. They're not thinking while they do the work. They're just not. And eventually I just get used to working with people who don't think. And then I just go ahead, like you did with, your siblings and your mom's situation. Questions?
No.
So, see, I can relate to you. I can have empathy for you. I'm like, I know what she feels like. Like that. Now, if I wanted to be a victim, I could say, my life is worse than hers. I mean, they're younger siblings. You expect, younger kids not to do it. I'm dealing with adults, and I'm dealing with adults that I pay to do things, and they're making a living, and they don't do what I tell them to do. And then people say, well, maybe you ought to use different words. And I just roll my eyes and say, no, I'll just do it. Or I'll just go ahead and not do it and figure out some way around it. So anyways, so this here, whenever you see something not filled out, just go down go down until it was filled out. Then you'll say, this is when somebody else took over and did what Mark was taught him to do, and they stopped doing it, and he just gave up on him. He's just like, you know what? I don't know. You know, they have some type of handicap. They can't listen, they can't follow direction, whatever. So here you could go in and you could add the people that haven't converted into, you could add them into the My Buckets. So you can tell that, that they not in action vision because they're not sold. So these people here, the people without anything here, have not been converted into action vision signals. Make
Okay.
sense?
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that Elise is mentor people in is how to care. And so people don't care. So I'll pick on Jason because he knows now, because I'm picking on him, okay, that I actually care for him. He didn't know that before. He thought, I don't know what he thought, but he thought that before. So I care for him, and I actually believe he has the capability, maybe more than others, to go ahead and care. So, Devon Yoder, I think it's Devon. I think he's the, he's the excavator guy. Now, Jason, is it because he was raised Amish? I don't know. Is it because, he's got a wife that's an expressive and has a father like she does? And so she's just learned, I'll just drive things forward so he doesn't have to. Like, wow, I want a wife like that. Or is it that he's an amiable analytic? And so, if people do things, they do things. If they don't, they don't. It is what it is. Whatever it is, it's not a big deal. This ticks me off. Why? Because I've invested a lot of time into Devon, and he should be doing it. Like, he should be doing it. Like, he should be doing it. Now, I don't know, for you who don't care, try that. Go ahead and try it. Seriously, go ahead and pound on your desk. I don't know what it takes. There's something inside of you. I believe that every human being has the ability to care. I just think they do. I don't know. And so what's it going to take? 10,000 volts of electricity? Is it losing your house? Is it not seeing your wife and kids eat? I don't know. But care about Devon, for crying out loud. And so when I see, like, my job in sales, sales doesn't start until you get a no. Before then, it's just order taking. If all you're doing is taking orders, you're not a salesperson. All you are is an order taker. So when people say no, I get excited because then I can do my job. Questions? So with Devon, I go to this cell, and I do a Control C, and then I go to MCAT, and then I go in here, and I go and Control V. So then I don't have to type it wrong. It's fast. Everything's about speed in sales. Then I go to search, and then I go in here, and then I go here, and I assign a bucket. So it comes up and it remembers my last one, and I say, I think he's a hot prospect. So I do a $0 and say excavator. That's spelled whatever. Excavator. I put something like I had trained you. You put something stubborn, need brothers, need to meet with brothers. So I kind of put something that I know who this guy is. See, if you only have one or two people, you're not really a salesperson. That you're going to get a lot of people, you're going to get a lot of people that are going to go ahead and, a lot of people that you're going to have to keep up with, maybe hundreds of people. So then I go in here to the buckets, and then I hit refresh, and then he goes right at the top. So these are two hot leads. I can get both of these. I can get them. No doesn't mean no with me. No means K-N-O-W. That's what it means. They don't know what I know, because if they knew K-N-O-W, what I knew, they'd be saying yes to me, not no. See, like a salesperson, he's got fire in his belly, in her belly. Like, no, it's almost like a mom. A mom should be able to go ahead and relate to this. Like when your 3-year-old goes ahead and you tell your 3-year-old to do something and they say no. Like, what? like, how can you, little tiny short person, tell me no? And then it really gets to be fun when you're a woman and your teenage son, who's bigger than you, he's taller than you, stronger than you, he says no. And what do? You're like, buddy, I brought you into this world. I can take you out of this world. You don't tell me no. What are you thinking? I feed you. Do you know what could happen in the food? Like, you don't mess with mom. This is how I am in sales. You don't tell me no. I mean, I tell you no, like, I don't want to work with you. Like Devon, poor guy, he's a goofball. But, maybe his brother isn't. And so I say no to people. They don't say no to me. Like, if it's the right solution for them, then they're gonna, I'm not doing them a favor. I'm not doing them a favor by, just whatever. Yeah, well, whatever. Yeah, whatever. Is that the way you're gonna parent too? Like your kids say, I'm gonna go out and drink, I'm gonna get plastered. You're 4 years old. You're not gonna get plastered. No, are you gonna be like it's like, I just wonder, like this complacency, like to be a business owner, you got to have fire in your belly. You got to care. And so we get it all organized. And so you can go in here and so Elaine had asked, how does she know what level they are? So what you can do, Elaine, if you're adding them, you can just add them at the bottom, ZZ or whatever, any letter here, just put whatever you do, just get them in. That's what Elise did to Douglas. So if you just get them in here, that saves me a little bit of time. So anybody, so you want to do at least 5 of these today. You want to do at least 5 of these today to get them in there. And so, here could be the lead. So Mark's gut feel. So this is Mark's gut feel right here. So Mark has a gut feel. He thinks she's probably an 03. Craig Schaefer. I don't remember who he is. So I'm going to say, that he's 05, because I don't remember him. Sure.
Just so I'm clear, these go in the hot bucket, correct?
Yes. So when I put 5 here, when I put 3 here, you got to put them in as, as O.
Put O first.
Yeah, in the my buckets.
Okay.
Otherwise, you get up to 10, and then all of a sudden 10 will go above. So if you don't put the O in, it doesn't work so good.
Gotcha.
And then Ken Boersma, I don't care about him so much.
Okay.
So I would go ahead and say, give him a 9. Like whatever. He needs it. Like he needs it. He needs it. That poor guy, like he has his sons working for him. Way to go. Like that's a big thing. And he's paying them. He's making tons of money. Now he's an owner of the company. That's not really, so poor Ken, the guy's a pathetic leader. He doesn't know how to hire people, doesn't know how to recruit people. He's just pathetic, which is fine if that's what he wants to do. If I cared about him more, like he's got the money. So let me see if I can remember the 3 things. So one is the person, a decision maker. Write this down. So these are the 3 factors in making on what kind of quality of lead this is. So do we have a decision maker? So sometimes you think you have the decision maker. So if you have a business owner, that's a man and his wife is not the business owner, doesn't work in the business, who's the decision maker, the man or the wife? You might think it's
Probably
a
the
good
wife.
question. What's that? Probably the wife, you said?
Said probably the wife.
If the husband's made stupid
Yeah.
financial decisions in the past, yes, it's the wife. Because she's just tired of him wasting money, which a lot of business owner men do. They spend in this and this and this, and eventually the wife just says, you know what? You're not going to go ahead and continue to waste our money. You keep wasting our money. She takes over the finances because he makes terrible decisions. Roseanne has never done that to me. Not because I'm a driver, not because I haven't made poor choices. It's because when I make poor choices, she doesn't have to pay. I pay. I work longer, harder. I try to keep up with her, the marriage, the date nights, the kids. I'm the one that makes the decision. But in a lot of, if the wife is a decision maker, which she often is, you got to get both people in the decision. You don't want to sell it to the husband, and then the husband gets sold and he says, I need to talk to my wife. Because husbands have no idea how to sell to their wives. If he has to have his wife make the decision, he's probably made a lot of poor financial decisions. Some would call her a control freak. There's some women that are, but by and large, in my experience, they're not. In my experience, men have made poor decisions, so the woman has to just jump in to save the business and the house. But if the wife has a decision, so when you're talking to somebody, if you did make a decision to move forward on a business x-ray, which is $285, if you did make that decision, would you be the one to make a decision, or would you have partner or wife or spouse or somebody else? You want decision makers in with you, because husbands cannot sell the wives. Just trust me. They think they can. They can't. They're terrible at it. Everything they say tells her to say no. And so, yeah, Ken. So if somebody cared about Ken, they'd go after him hard. Like he could be sold. He really could. He'll be a pain in the tush though as a client, because he won't everything. He's like most white males over 50. Everything that you coach him to do and works, he's going to say, well, I already knew that. Yeah, but you weren't doing it, goofball. Or anything that doesn't work, then he's going to blame you for it. So you don't get any credit. Why anybody'd want to ever sell somebody like that on being a client, I don't know. But one of you might. And if you do, well, you'll learn. It's always good to have one bad client, and he would be a bad one. Devon, I would say, so I'm going to say Mark is a 2. Devon, I would say, is an 8. Now with Devon, the next step is to get his brother and him together.
Who's his brother?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Jason would know. And, ideally, Jason would have put him in here. So I go in here and I go here, and then I go to the referral tab, and his brother's not in here. And so did Jason go ahead and know his brother? I think he does, or knows of him or something. Ideally, he should have had a contact record with a referral, so I could go to Devon, go into the referral tab. And so we got to call Devon and schedule an appointment for him and his brother. So that's the next step for, Devon. Myron, I don't remember who that is. So I'm going to give it a 5 because I don't know.
Myron Coons?
So, yeah. So if I went in here and I looked at his, I just do copy.
I'm guessing he was one of the people that responded to the People's Exchange.
Well, he did a business x-ray.
Okay.
So you can tell a business x-ray by going to the web links, and then you can see the link here. So I think I remember who he is now. So I could look here and I'd probably remember who he was. So these, sales, no sales coming in, getting a great business sales pitch, how to read people. Like this guy's a hot lead. Holy cow, is he a hot lead? Who's not following up on him? So I just pushed him up to a 7. Now, He might not have the money. Okay, sorry. So the three things is you need a decision maker. So they need to be a
Okay.
decision maker. If we're not to a decision maker, they could be an influencer, but we got to have the decision maker if we're selling. Now, a husband may be able to make the decision of a $285 investment, but he can't make a decision for 10 grand without his wife. But some husbands can't. So the moral of the story is make sure you have decision makers. Otherwise, I'm not saying you're wasting your time. If they're an influencer, then you have to approach a little different. So the first is going to be, are they the decision maker? The second is, can they afford to make the financial investment? So can they pay for it? Now, if they can't pay for anything, if they have no money, that's okay, because then you give them to Life Masteries, because Life Masteries has tons of stuff they can give them. But Synergy is not a nonprofit; it's a for-profit company. We're in it to make money, and so we need. So can somebody afford? And so $285 probably they can afford that, and he could, but he couldn't afford the next level, which was Action Vision, which is somewhere between $4,000 up front and 12 plus grand up front, somewhere between $900 a month and some, up to $3,000 plus. And so can they afford it? The third thing is going to be their sense of urgency, like their sense of pain, how much pain they have. Like Ken, okay, Ken is the decision maker. He pushes it off on his son, Pete, and maybe Pete might be. Like Pete doesn't like me, but he does like me. And so, if Pete went ahead and said he wanted Action Vision, Ken might do it, but they both might be pains and tushes. So Ken is the decision maker, probably. Like if he decided to do it, he owns majority ownership in the company. So if he decides, so he's a decision maker. Can he afford it? No question about it. Easy. He can afford it easy. Is he cheap? Penny wise, dollar foolish. Might be. I don't know. So he's got 1 and 2. The third is a sense of urgency. This is why your biggest challenge is so important. This is why your biggest challenge is so important, because it's the pain. So that's why you magnify the pain. That's why you say, so, tell me a little, what's your biggest challenge? Tell me a little more about that. The more they talk about their biggest challenge, the more pain they have. So pain is good that will motivate people more than pleasure. And so here, I don't remember this guy, so I just give him a 5. Interesting. I'd give him, I don't know, maybe a 6. I'd give this guy a 2. So you can see, these are, you get these in, so you can put these into the bucket. And then when Elaine and I get together, so Elaine and I are getting together every day to go ahead and review over what she did, what she did in making calls. It's how you learn. It's how she's going to teach all of you how to make calls. Now, I don't want to teach all of you. Why not? Because you all struggle with follow through. just say it. I can't count on you. And so with Elaine, I can count on Elaine. And so I think I can teach anybody how to sell, but they have to go ahead and be willing to do the work. And I would rather have somebody that's a 2 or 3 in sales ability with a 10 on consistency and follow through than somebody with a 10 in sales skills and a 2 in follow through. Follow through and consistency is everything in sales. So listen to Elaine, because she's got, I think probably the only thing she's missing might be confidence. So she might not have the confidence. She has great instincts into people. She knows when people aren't telling her the truth. She knows when she has a sense. Like I have a sense this person might be. So she's got great senses. She's got great instincts, got great follow through, great discipline. She's got great drive. She's a great student. So I think the only thing that's missing for her probably is confidence. And she's going to gain confidence just by doing. Like it's not going to be studying. It's not going to be listening to me. That's not going to give her confidence. Where she's going to get confidence, get on the phone and talk, which is probably why she's saying, Mark, can we be done with this recording? I'm like, absolutely. We're done. We're finished. Hopefully this was good for all of you. I know Beth Smith, my therapist, she says that these kind of podcasts, podcasts for sales. She said these kind of podcasts are very good for my therapy. She says this is like therapy. Doesn't cost me as much as Beth either. And so I feel good. I hope all of you feel good. Well, I kind of do. If you feel terrible, that's okay too. If you feel like I'm just a worm, well, then don't be a worm. You weren't created to be a worm. Be a human being. Do something, for crying out loud. Have an amazing day.